let's just jump into it. Puyshpii can always join us later.
Sounds fine, but it's a little delayed with the video. Yeah, I don't really know how to get around that. I'll be honest. I think it's just gonna happen.
We're winging it. We're winging it. Let's be real. So the whole point of this
We are
is just kind of
trained
like,
professionals. Do not accept this at home.
this is top-notch quality content right here. As good as it's gonna get. So for those of you that don't know, this is more or less our seasonal testing team. It was pretty casual, minus a Puyshpii and a Z Turtle. But we had some pretty good chats about Runeterra. Let's see, for anyone that doesn't know everyone that's here, first off, I mean, obviously you guys know me. You know, I'm the second best looking Jason on the team. We've got Kever. He does okay on the ladder. He's like qualified for a couple, you know, top 32, a couple seasonals. Is it 2 seasonals or 1 seasonal, Kever?
It's my first seasonal. That's MajiinBae qualified for 2.
Just one. Bae's got 2. Got 2 top 32s. WhatAmI has 1. Jasensational has 1. I am looking in through the glass. But you know, pretty stacked.
Next season.
And Puyshpii won it.
Mine.
Yeah. He's unfortunately not here.
No big deal.
Yeah.
Puyshpii that we're trying to get
North
on the
America.
call just won the last one.
Yeah, North America seasonal winner. Anyways, so we have some great chats typically, and we thought we'd, you know, share them with everyone. And speaking of the seasonal, that's what we were going to kind of talk about.
And everyone's video
Oh my
disappeared.
goodness, get the Pokeball.
Why did everybody's video just disappear?
Imagine you have to move your camera left by like 50 pixels.
All right, we finally have the setup, guys. We got it.
But like everyone's video's gone. Can you see your own videos?
Yeah, you have to click on the little camera icon on anybody's. It'll
okay.
pop it back. It did it.
All right, we did it.
Interesting.
Everyone's here.
I still don't have yours camera in Discord. Imagine.
What's up?
We still don't see.
No,
yours.
we're not.
You're not going
We're
to.
not going to get in because you
Okay.
can't through OBS.
All good. Let me put some text over your face. I'll just put
Oh, that's right. Because in your stream it looks weird. Yeah,
it's
I'm
all good.
cheating. I
No,
literally
as long as it works on yours, it's good. It's good.
I grabbed my OBS camera and just dragged it over my Discord face. All right, so everyone's
Okay,
here.
let's get to the first off. Puyshpii, can you? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Can't hear you.
I can hear.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Welcome.
Is it better
My
now?
bad.
No, it's good. You're good. We can hear you.
Yeah. You're all good. Okay, so we're gonna get to the hard-hitting questions here first. We're gonna start off right with a big swing. What am I? Do we have the exact same bottle, or is yours different than mine?
No, so this is actually one where I am an unrepentant copycat. I was actually watching you stream and I'm like, hey, what the fuck? I never hydrate. I should do exactly that. and then I did exactly that.
Nice.
You guys should do what
Good
I do
shit.
and just
You don't have
drink
a cap on,
vodka
though.
instead.
Yes. Oh, can you imagine filling this shit
Is
with
that
vodka
how you
and then
top
streaming?
32
That would be the
seasonals?
best.
Your water bottles are so huge, guys. So huge.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. I have my
They'd be, like,
actual water
buzzed,
bottle. You can't see because
drunk,
you can't see my Discord.
Dead.
Thing, but yeah. Let's get into it.
Let's get this thing going. So, we're going to start off talking about the seasonal. Apparently some people here have some experience. I have played in 2 of them. I will go first. So I thought we'd talk a little bit about, you know, our thoughts about it, how it went for us. Anything we, you know, we're happy with, things we would do differently. I'll keep mine brief because my seasonal was pretty brief. I lost the first round and then was just like, I heard WhatAmI dropped after 1, and so I was like, yeah, I'm gonna do the same. But then you like apparently went 4-1 after, and I was like, oh, I feel baited. I ended up playing TF Fizz, Aphelios, Zoe, which I was both very happy with. And the third deck, I was on Field of Rush, and I switched to discard aggro at the last second. Ended up playing against a like triple anti-aggro lineup, and my discard aggro lost twice, and I was kind of sad about it. Looking back, I would definitely switch that out. And my big takeaway, really, I wanted to throw this as another question out to the group as you guys are talking about your experiences in seasonal, is like, is aggro just bad? Do you think aggro is like, is there a place for it, a time and a place? Because I mean, you know, I'm still relatively new to the game. It's only been like 2 or 3 months, but it's the aggro decks have seemed like between the anti-aggro cards being really good and the game just having spell mana that doesn't punish you for skipping your turns or makes it so you're not punished. I'm left thinking like, is aggro even good? Because I'm definitely not looking to bring an aggro deck, I think, to the next seasonal. Seems like a bit of a gamble. Seems to me like might be better for a metagame that's maybe much smaller, maybe the top 32 or something. If you really think people are hard targeting those other decks and might be weak to aggro, but in a general big large open tournament, I'm like really curious to get your guys' thoughts. Yeah,
I think my first take on that is that aggro definitely can be good, but I think in a larger tournament setting, aggro is unlikely to be good unless you have a plan B to your aggro deck. And what I mean by that is basically the best aggro deck of all time was Endure Spiders, right? And that had the oops, I'm going to kill you on turn 3 or 4, and by the way, if we get to turn 10, you're dead from 20 damage to the face. Bye! And that was a ridiculously powerful deck until someone printed Hush and rained on its parade. But any aggro deck that has a solid plan B, I think, can find a place in the meta. The issue with something like discard aggro or pirates is that you miss your perfect draw and you're just completely out of the game. And in a seasonal where you basically need to god draw 5 rounds in a row on an aggro deck, whereas you can get some more mediocre draws on different decks, you're asking a lot more of your RNG if you bring a deck like that.
Yeah, I mostly agree with your point. I don't think aggro is like terrible. I think it's also a symptom of just Targon being very good right now, and a lot of Targon cards are pretty good against aggro decks too. Like just talking against Sunforgers, but not really paid anymore. Just Guiding Touch in general. Just anything Targon based. Like some aggro decks have a real tough time dealing with it. So it's a combination of what you just said. Targon being good, aggro deck being less reliable. Sometimes more higher RNG draws, more draw dependent, and everything else. Yeah, but there's still lots of triple aggro lineup that made it to a seasonal top 32. I was skimming through the decks just now, and there's like at least 8 to 9 just triple aggro focused lineup that made it. So it's not
legit.
Terrible.
Yeah, I literally got against like 5 lineups that were like 2 to 3 aggro decks, and I mean, the first one was one of them that had like 2 aggro decks and 1 Aphelios TF on it. That's the one that like I rolled me with the double Cosmic Inspiration on the mirror match. That was very close, but I mean, aggro is not bad at all. But the issue with a tournament setup is like, as XxWhatamIxX said, is being consistent in a tournament where you have to maybe not having like a plan 2 on, a plan B on most of the decks, and you just get out of steam. It doesn't like being consistent is very difficult to be on a full aggro lineup.
Yeah,
I think
aggro. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. I think that there's an interesting spot in a lineup for like one aggro deck. I was thinking about this a lot with like my third deck, where I had like a TF deck and a Philios deck, and depending on what I kind of wanted to target or what I kind of wanted to ban, I think there's a very flexible deck slot for a deck like Overwhelm or like Nightfall or some aggro deck that if I was going into like a matchup like Lee Sin that or I wanted favorable against like Lee Sin, and I was maybe banning like the most aggressive deck in like a triple aggro lineup, then I think there's a very flexible deck slot in which you could bring an aggro deck, because I think that a lot of aggro decks are also kind of soft target to a lot of decks or even hard target to a lot of decks within the meta. Like Overwhelms is kind of targeting decks like Fizz TF, or some other decks like Pirates can really target Anivia or Fuel the Rush. And so I think that having like a one deck aggro in like your lineup could make sense, but like XxWhatamIxX said, having a triple aggro lineup can kind of have a little bit of vulnerabilities to bad draws.
I actually kind of hard disagree with that. And I know this is a little bit of a hot take, but I feel like you either play the 3 aggro decks and you commit to it and you hope to, high roll or get good matchups, or you don't. If you show up with 1 aggro deck and like 2 other solid mid-range decks, then you're either going to get that deck banned when it's really good into your opponents, or you're going to be playing into anti-aggro people who will roll you. Like, there's no point at which that's a good thing for you. At the very least, it's kind of okay. Like it gives you an extra weakness for very little benefit.
So you consider TF Fizz not being an aggro deck because it's like one of the most powerful decks, like to be honest, and
It's
it can
a
be
special
like
case.
Yeah, I don't consider TF Fizz to be
TF Fizz is like TF Fizz is a lot like Endure was last season. It's so tier 0 that it doesn't matter that it's an aggro deck.
Yeah,
I think of
agree.
TF Fizz kind of like
that's a good thing.
yeah. I think of TF Fizz kind of like for you MTG players, like Delver when it was really good. Is that
Yes.
technically it's like an aggro. You can't see my air quotes, but they're there. Like aggro
It
deck.
feels like you are
But it's like
Phoenix.
not really, yeah, or like you are Phoenix, exactly. And it's different. You can bring TFs in your lineup because it can just beat anything. Even the decks that counter it, like Anivia. I know Kevin and I were talking about this, but we think that like the higher in skill level you get, the better TF Fizz gets against its counters. And when you're playing at the highest level, TF Fizz just has so many options that it really gives you the opportunity to like outplay your opponent. So I think it belongs in a non-triple aggro lineup. That was a lot of talking for one small point, but
Yeah. Last one I want to add. Yeah, go ahead.
and then for the original question, is aggro bad in tournaments and things like that? I don't think it's bad. I think in open I don't like it, like in seasonal open, because the farther you go down the rankings, the more people are scared of aggro, so the more people will play counter aggro lineups. Like if you ask the average gold/plat player what's like the best deck in the format, they're probably going to say TF Fizz, but in their top 5, I guarantee there's 2 other aggro decks.
There's going to be Pirates for sure.
Yeah, they're going to say Pirates and they're going to say discard aggro, whether or not they're actually good, right? Because it just feels bad to lose to them, so people think they're better than they are, so they play counters, especially in lower rankings. So in the opens, you'll see the counters more than you would in like top 32.
Yeah, makes sense. One thing I wanted to add about like the triple aggro lineup is what I didn't like about it is it's kind of one to be playing versus TF Fizz, because the most like the consensus right now is like the aggro decks, most of them are okay, or at least even against TF Fizz, and leaving TF Fizz up. But first off, you can just get eye rolled because the deck is so powerful. But the other problem is if your lineup doesn't have your own TF Fizz, your third aggro deck will always be somewhat subpar. And now if you're running TF Fizz and you're triple aggro, and now I can just ban whatever aggro I think is worse from my TF Fizz, and I can get my 50-50 matchup against yours, or if I consider like my lineup, my plays to be better, to be even now favored against a lineup that's supposed to be targeting me.
That's something that I think a lot of people mess up when they try to make targeting lineups. If you're gonna make a targeting lineup where your theory is I'm gonna bring 3 decks that beat this one really powerful deck, then you can't bring 3 decks that beat it by a little. If I bring 3 decks that beat like the best deck in the format and it's 55-45 or even only 60-40, and that sounds like an amazing matchup, right? But if I bring 3 decks where the entire point is I have to 2-0 that deck, then first of all, I'm betting on that showing up in every match, and then I'm betting on my reasonably favored matchups being able to beat it in every match. And that's just not good enough if you're only a little bit favored. To get a real counter lineup, you have to be crushing that matchup.
Yeah, because even if the matchup is like 90%, 90-10, you still have that 10% to lose that matchup, and if you get it, then you're out. So it's not worth it.
And also, let's be clear, 90-10 matchups don't exist.
They've
like,
never
that's not
existed.
actually a thing.
No, in any card game ever, they've never existed. Yeah.
Or they're very
Not between,
outlier,
like,
it's
two-
not the norm.
Yeah, I
Good
mean,
decks.
like you can do lists like that, very tech against those decks that don't do anything well against other matchups, but are like very high against what you're expecting. But I mean, that's like in a very how to say, extreme point of view. Like, I mean, it could exist, but it's not something that you see on the meta in any way.
Okay, so sorry. So I was going to say that like you guys are saying that it's really hard to target something like TF Fizz for all the reasons that you're listing. So what is the opposite of that then? Because it seems like Bae, Kever, but most of our team everyone kind of ran like basically decks that had game against a wide percentage of the field. Is that kind of the strategy, that you just want to have decks where you're never going to be too much of a dog, and that you're hopefully have like a little bit of an edge, and maybe also some decks that you can apply your skill to, you know, outplay people and whatever kind of random, because there's a lot of crazy decks out there. You know, it's like 3,000 decks. Whatever gets thrown at you, that you'll always sort of have like some skin in the game. Is that the strategy to go for?
I've actually put a lot of thought into this in the last couple of days while testing for top 32. That's definitely my strategy in the open. Is I want to play decks that let me like flex my skill a bit, right? Like I assume I'm going to be better than the average open seasonal player, and so I need to play decks that let me like take advantage of that. And yeah, Pirate aggro might be extremely strong, but there's like 3 whole decision points each game, and if those like don't work out for me, like if I don't get to outplay my opponent, or I don't have the opportunity to like outplay my opponent, I'm giving up my edge. And so I want to play decks like these Aphelios decks, Zoe Lee specifically, where I get to take my experience and put it towards the matchup. You know what I mean? And if my lineup is like Pirate aggro, spiders, and something else, I lose those points. And that's just not ideal.
I went with basically the same strategy as Majin. I don't consider aggro, like just taking it back real quick, I don't consider aggro to be like low skill. I think overall in the game, there's less decision, but those decisions are way more impactful. So if you mess up a little bit and you're missing a damage, it's going to come to bite you way more than if you like do a slight miss decision with like a mid-range deck. But for my seasonal, I basically tried to I tried everything. I tried a triple aggro lineup. I tried triple control. I tried Anivia based. But I settled pretty early on what I consider the 3 most powerful decks. So those happens to be decks that have lots of decision, like Zoe Lee. But I thought those were the 3 most powerful archetypes that I could be playing. And in a random field, because like 1,000 people is a lot of people. And in a random field, I just wanted to be doing powerful stuff. It's a bonus if that powerful stuff helps me flex my edge and just play better. But I just wanted to do powerful stuff, and worked out.
The way that I like to talk about it is I like to try to be soft targeting something. So I want 3 decks that are going to be, you know, generally powerful, consistent decks, and that are often also going to have a lot of the same good matchups. For this seasonal, I was soft targeting Aphelios. The reason I went 4-1 was a combination of a little bit of bad draws and one opponent who didn't bring Aphelios. So it happens, right?
Gotcha.
But I think having a soft target where you're getting a bunch of good matchups into a certain deck, and then also having just consistent powerful decks that at the same time keep that soft target is a lot of where you want to go. And anyone who was watching my stream knows I spent like literally 2 weeks trying to let my soft target be TF Fizz, realized I couldn't do that while running good decks, and kind of audible at the last minute.
Yeah, it's what I did too, is like soft targeting aggro decks. So like I picked deck that I thought was all okay against aggro deck. Even I played TFS myself, but I soft targeted with just teching all my decks with a little bit towards aggro, because in a random 1k field, I expected to be like at least 1 or 2 lineups that I would consider aggressive lineup. So just like taking cards into my decks that made that lineup, like those matchups a little bit better.
Radiant Guardian forever.
Yeah, I had a question for Kev and Bae. You guys are both, we're both at the top of the ladder, playing Lee Sin, Zoe Lee Sin. We're talking about decks being inconsistent or whatever. I've heard some other players poo basically on Lee Sin decks because sometimes your leads are just in the bottom and you lose, and that's the thing. But you both made top 32, so my assumption is that you just assume that the risk of like that fail amount just isn't high enough. I'm curious about that deck a little bit. Your thoughts there? Are you pulling out wins, or do you think that the fail rate just isn't high enough?
I'll go first. I think the fail rate of not drawing Lee Sin, sure, like it's there, but I think the deck is good enough that it can win games without Lee Sin with powerful cards like Eye of the Dragon or early Zoe, knowing when to go for the elusive game plans if you're playing like Sparkle Flies and picking up things like Trickster with your Zoe pick and your Sketcher. I've tried to add a little bit of consistency with Sorry Priestess, I think is a card, where she can pick exactly Written in Stars, which is super good in the deck. And the rest of the decision to try to minimize your fail rate is basically make good mulligan decision and know when you can keep a certain card that's good in a matchup. Like when I consider exactly like Notify good in a matchup, I won't keep it unless I already have a Zoe or I already have a Lee Sin, because those are important cards, and sometimes you'll see people keep it just because it's great in a matchup, but you're keeping it without your champion and just making your fail rate a little bit higher. You try to minimize it both ways.
Do we have any other Zoe Lee players, or is it just us? I think it might be just us. So
yeah, me and you,
it's just us. Okay, so for context, both of us hit rank 1 with Zoe Lee this season. I think the deck, like everyone could kill with Lee Sin, but like the big level up for me was learning how to win with the other cards without Lee Sin.
Exactly.
Like when you go all in on like the Zoe plan, and then I've been learning a lot actually from playing against Kever in the matchup, is that if you guys are familiar, again, gonna make another MTG reference with the deck Splinter Twin, the deck plays a lot like that. It plays out like a tempo deck, but this deck is like a tempo combo deck. You want to tempo your opponent, put your opponent in like a bad situation with your Zoes, your Goats, your Mentors, your Sparkle Flies, get them so that they have to commit resources to stop those things, and then you combo kill them with Lee. And that's how you win a lot of your games. And so, yeah, for me, figuring out how to win without Lee was incredibly important.
For reference in the how to play Lee Sin part of this, I'm kind of the Invoke player. Playing Invoke against people who are pretty okay with Lee Sin is very easy because they commit the Lee Sin to the board. It gets hushed, it gets meteored. I know what's going on. I can play around it. Life's good. Playing against the really, really good Lee Sin players, it'll often look like even when they have it, they just won't play it until like turn 8 or 9. They will force me to expend my answers on those earlier threats like the Zoe and the giant Sparkle Flies, and then Lee Sin comes in and kicks you in the face. I think Splinter Twin is a really good analogy for that deck, so I'm backing up Maji.
Yeah, I've been on the Splinter Twin train for the day since day one. Day one, baby.
Puyshpii, our season 1 winner, you had a pretty unique lineup. You just went your own way. Why don't you tell everyone a little bit about the decks that you chose and what your tournament was like?
For this seasonal, you mean?
Yeah, this seasonal.
Well, I kind of used like the backup plan at the end. Like I switched my lineup the previous day. I didn't use the Tamkench, Soraka, Karma Zoe, and Israel Timo that I was about to use, because I was expecting like a lot of listings and all of that, and I faced no listing in the entire tournament. I was testing like the previous day in ladder, and it was full of aura, and I decided I had to play in this open field like more consistent deck, and I end up playing like Kevor's Zoe Lee, Fresh Lobster, Aphelios Diana, which is an alliance deck that plays only the Octopus as a 2-drop. To not miss on the alliance. And what's the third deck? Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, TFs. So I kind of went in that line of play, like playing like the good decks, but I got like very, very high rolls on the first matchup. Like the Scarlet Aggro, like on turn 4 had me like in 3 life. Like it was like the perfect hand, and I had outs even with that, but well, it just didn't run. But overall, the lineup seems pretty strong, to be honest. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, we're
So,
basically
at the end,
playing the same lineup. I'm on Aphelios Tamkench, but you're on Aphelios Diana.
Diana. Yeah, I decided at the end I was about to play like more normal deck, Aphelios Bilgewater with the Purple Fish and all of that. But I saw like Fresh Lobster doing very well on the opener rounds. I just lost the last matchup, I guess. I mean the last round. But the deck seems very consistent. It's like a Legends deck with 3 Octopus, and it's very nice.
Interesting. So if you had to play again tomorrow, would you take the same 3 decks or would you switch?
Probably switch the Aphelios Diana, because I guess I'm more inclined to the style of playing of having Burble Fishes. But the deck didn't perform bad.
Purple.
Yeah, I mean Burble Fish is a very good card.
Yeah, it really is. And speaking of, you know what? Why don't we touch a little bit real quick, Kever and Bae, and you know anyone else that wants to talk about. Puyshpii has a lot of experience, obviously, playing in the top 32. You know, how do things change when you go from a 1,000-person tournament to a 32-person tournament when you know who you're going to play? Shout out, Kev is going to be, we think, playing Runeterra. Josh Utterlane, for anyone that plays MTG, going to be basically 2 absolute monsters. Round
You had
1.
to be him.
Because Raptor went 4.
Gonna
Raptor
be
4-1,
hype.
right?
He went 4-1, and
Raptor went 4-1.
Yeah, and we've been basically like jostling for rank 1 like just before the cutoff, and I was just like, I tagged him on Twitter, posted a picture of like him just above me in ranks, and it was even in my chat during my run. And yeah, I didn't expect him to make it. I heard he lost at some point, and then it's just the one making it. And since it's the only 4-1 and I'm the higher seed, like just playing him round 1, like straight up, it's gonna be pretty hype round 1. But to say
that doesn't get featured on the channel, I mean on the stream.
It
has
gotta.
to.
That's gotta
Yeah,
be
yeah.
the first thing on stream.
Yeah,
100%. We're all gonna be cheering for you, buddy.
Yeah, I'll do my best. But tough round 1. But it changes a lot from 1K players to top 32. Like, I'm very confused about what I'm gonna do. I still can just bring like my baseline is still the lineup I've played or something very similar, just powerful decks. But now I have a field in front of me. I know what I can be expecting somewhat, and like making correct decision there, it's very hard. Like I'm always second guessing. Like every time I have an idea now.
So, hot take. I actually disagree. And this is a little bit silly. I know. I didn't make top this time, but I made top cut last time. I think usually the way you want to go about it is pretend you don't know what's going on. If you've ever done like game theory, prisoner's dilemma type stuff, then at the end of the day, if everyone's trying to make the best decision, then often the best decision you can make is to ignore whatever they're doing instead of trying to mind game yourself out of it. Just play your game. You know?
There's a big danger of just leveling yourself out of the tournament. Like, that's for sure. But it's still info that you can use. Like you just need to not overthink it. That's a good advice.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you cannot take in like full on just playing against on winning that first matchup. If you are planning to win everything, like you cannot just bank on I'm gonna play against this guy. I have to do my lineup to beat it. That's not a way to go. I mean, obviously you wanna go win that matchup and win all the other ones.
Go for the win in the whole field. Like I'm not targeting especially Raptor. I'm trying to be good or as good as I can against the whole field. But Raptor does bring his own text into his deck. I need to use Bae and play against his Lee Sin. Like, I know you've been playing Raptor's Lee Sin list. I need some practice against that.
It's interesting. I'm definitely willing to play it against
Raptor? Do we have Raptor to blame for like the temples in this deck? Was he the first one to do that nonsense?
Yeah,
or was that
he
somebody
also
else?
he had temples, no Sparkleflies, no mentors.
He's also
Oh god,
Yeah, and like 2 copies of
Crazy.
Homecoming.
And one
crazy
Homecoming.
mother.
He likes playing his own version of deck.
I
which
really
worked
like
out.
Homecoming, but
I do. Actually, on my previous lineup, I was running like 5 Homecomings on all combined. I like it very much, and it's because I wanted like to target more like Lee Sin. It's very good. Well, it's very decent against Lee Sin and having other answers to that, and then also resetting like Star Prince. It's very valuable.
Yeah.
So
and
I mean,
bouncing
but
like
I
a
didn't
Fiora or something is very good too.
yeah.
It's actually like a very solid card, I think, in the deck. I'm having a hard time finding room for it. I'm considering going like the tempo route because I mean there's talk of like possibly leveling yourself, and that's something I have to worry about. But the field to get to top, like the top 32 players, the field is pretty much like Fizz TF, the Aphelios deck, be it TF or Tahm Kench. Fiora Shen and Zoe Lee were like some of the most popular decks, and I'm also like I played TF Aphelios, Zoe Lee, and Fiora Shen. And so if I want to play those decks against those strategies, I need to be like slightly bigger. You know what I mean? That's like how you usually win mirrors, is you just go, you're like, okay, I'm the same deck, but I have one extra of this impactful card. And that can like really push you. So I'm trying out the Lee Sin with like the temples and stuff like that, seeing how that goes. It's a work in progress.
Work in progress is the way to say it, yeah.
Work in progress is possibly an understatement.
Keep Bright Steel Formation in the Fiora mirror.
Yeah, exactly. Stuff like that. Whereas
What
like
would be
having a
your
second
take?
one is huge. If I'm playing the Fiora mirror and I see they have 2 Bright Steel Formation and I only have 1 in my entire list, I feel down. Like I'm like, oh, that's rough.
Hey man,
What would be your take,
you
guys,
keep it in your opening hand. It doesn't matter if you only have 1.
That's true.
if Ryan just said, you guys just keep your decks that you're qualified with, and that's what you're going to be playing next weekend? Like, would that be a bad idea, or like changing is good?
I would be very happy because then I don't have to test anymore. I could just practice, and that's so much easier. So much easier, right? Especially with like a known field. They would have to randomize the bracket a bit more, I think.
Yeah,
if they were
maybe
gonna do that.
randomize the bracket. But randomize the bracket and keep your decks, I think, would have been
I
what
would
I
love
would
that.
have preferred. But yeah.
Well, yeah, because then you wouldn't have to play against Raptor.
Sure, but also like I don't have to figure out the whole other lineup, or if I keep my lineup, or like scenario B and C and D and E.
I mean,
Yeah,
even
for
if
sure.
you don't
That's,
do
I
it
hope
on
that's
first
something that they end
round,
up changing.
someone has to face it at any point. And I mean, if you're expecting
I'm
to
just
win,
fucking
you have
around. I
to
know
face it at any point.
Puyshpii.
Yeah.
Can we possibly talk about like
Okay,
seasonals
well-
as a whole? Like what we think about the format and everything?
Sure. Yeah. Let's talk about the changes too.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, so for anyone that doesn't know, correct me if I forget anything. So we're gonna change to 9 rounds now instead of 5 rounds. All 8 ones and better will make it. The top 12, 7 and 2s, decided by your ranking on the ladder before the seasonal, will also make it. So that makes the ladder incredibly important. You can basically, if you're in the top 12, well, you'll always be one of the top 12 people. So you can basically go 7 and 2 instead of 8 or 1 to make the top 32 cutoff. Let's see. The what do you call it? The gauntlets are going to be always the same format as the seasonal now, which I really like because it's just great testing. Otherwise, there's not a lot of easy ways to test. Is there anything else? Am I missing anything else?
45 minutes per
Minutes per
round.
Right. Shorter
Yeah, let's
rounds
type
on
around
Saturday now.
more rounds. Yeah, on Saturdays.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
so
that's true.
so to kick it off, some big changes there. I'll say 9 rounds is great. No longer single elimination. Love it. Get to play more Runeterra. Love it. The shorter rounds could be real interesting. Watch lots of players go like deep into time. I don't even know exactly what happens when you run out of time or how that tiebreaker works if someone's up a game or what. But that'll be interesting. You'll definitely clock management's gonna become a lot more important. The ladder is also becoming super important now. Being able to have 1 loss or 2 losses is like night and day different. The difference between like 7-2 and 8-1, huge. So the ladder was already particularly difficult to climb, and now it's going to be hyper competitive, which at first I really liked because I wanted a reason to climb the ladder. But who was it? I think it was Lobster made a really good post today or a tweet talking about some of the downsides to it, in that you're kind of, it's hard to like have fun on the ladder. You need to basically have a secondary account. And it also kind of incentivizes people to play maybe too much. And burnout's like a very real thing. So I'm interested to get your guys' take on that, because I see it from both sides. You know, I want the ladder to matter and I want to climb it, but then I also don't want to feel like I'm like forced to grind all day every day.
Yeah, I feel like
first.
Anybody want to go first?
Well, you, Kev.
Tight. I feel like I'd rather have it like with this change for the ladder. Like I've been loving every change you said. Like moving to 9 rounds is great. The gauntlet format changing is gonna be super cool. Because I basically never played gauntlet, and now like I'll for sure do at least 1 or 2 every week just to get some practice in. But for the ladder thing, coming from Hearthstone, which might not be a good example, but what I like and what I think that LOR is doing right about the ladder, if you want it to matter, which I think it's okay for it to matter, it's to not have the set hard stop, hard bar. You need to make top 16. You need to make top 32. Now they just say the top 12 player, and it's not a hard bar. Like if you're top 50, like you're probably fine to go 7-2 because it needs to be all the 49 people above you. Like there's going to be at least 12 that's 7-2s, and that's unlikely in a super big event and a super long round, more rounds like that. So I like it having not a hard stop, because I've been doing the grind where this hand of the month you need to hit 16th, and if you're finished 17th, you basically get $0. You're missing, like you basically wasted your whole month. You basically just lost the whole month and lost maybe 1K, 2K, 3K prizes. So I like the way they've done it. There's an argument, and then what we've seen today on Twitter with Lobster, that went for just maybe ladders shouldn't matter. I think there's a happy middle, and LOR, at least the way they've been doing it, or the way they've announced it's going to be, I think it's good. Like, I don't know if it's a hot take, but I like the ladder mattering. And I like not having the hard stop. You need to reach exactly this rank, because that promotes super unhealthy behaviors on ladder. And not having that hard stop, I think, is going to be way less unhealthy than people are saying at the moment, or what I've read today.
Yeah, I totally agree. I also read Fresh Lobster's take because I immediately thought, oh, sick, ladder matters, right? This is like fantastic for everybody. Now I have a reason to try on ladder, aside from making top 32 or whatever. But then, yeah, I read Fresh Lobster's take, and I thought to myself, how often do I like actually get to try hard on ladder? And it's not often, because I am a streamer now, right? And so I spend 16 hours a week about playing ladder on stream, but I don't get to play at my best because I'm playing on stream. I'm playing meme decks, I'm playing what my chat says, I'm joking with my chat. Like, I don't get to play serious, you know. Yeah, I could, but that's like not extremely fun content. And it's not what my community's after. So I think that could like hamper me. That has me a little worried. I like the change overall, but what I would like to say is also what Lobster said. I would like to see focus not just on ladder, but also on smaller in-client tournaments that could lead to qualifications elsewhere. Kind of like how MTG does it.
Yeah, as long as this is the first step. Yeah.
Yes, as long as this is not it.
So,
adding more ways to qualify
in relation to this,
kind of cuts
First,
the top that you have to do for the ladder, right? So also make it more competitive in that way, unless they add more people competing in the tournament. Am I right? Because if there is more people qualifying in other ways, that means that you're cutting ladder spots.
Yeah, but from what I understood, it's still going to be 1,000 people, 700 ladder and gauntlet people.
Sure, but what he's suggesting is if you want to do, 400 ladder, 300 gauntlet, 300 from other little tournaments, and that's definitely something like I'm really looking forward to, not even necessarily for feeding into seasonals, but getting Riot client support for tournament organizers outside to be able to run tournaments is a huge thing that a lot of people are looking for, so that we don't have to use, Battlefly, Smash.gg, Dear God Brackot, Nice Cactus. Like, being able to run tournaments via the Riot client is going to be a really big deal. As far as the putting it to 9 rounds, 8-1, 7-2, I think that's a hugely powerful change. I love what they're doing with that. And I also don't know where people are getting this 45-minute number from. From what I know, it was reducing
60
from
minutes,
75 minutes to 60 minutes.
75 to 60.
Jason?
75 to 60.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
just
do you
60.
know where's the 45 number coming from, buddy? Jason?
Mm,
Oh, I think that was just a mistake. I think it's
Okay,
60.
all good. Okay.
people
And
might
I
have
think-
felt like 60-45 type of thing, 15 minutes.
Yeah, 60 is still definitely lower than we had like the huge 75-minute time window. But I think this is something that I've been talking to my teammates about for literal months, over in the Madmen Discord, just trying to get people to think on their opponent's turns. Like, even with the massive amount of time you have available in ladder and being able to rope people, like, it is a big deal to put the time pressure on your opponent to be able to make your plays quickly by having thought out what you think they're going to do and how you're responding to it turns in advance. Time pressure is real. It's not like chess where there's a chess clock where they're going to lose, but just kind of autopiloting when it's not your turn to play cards is definitely not the way to go.
Allah.
Emphasis on that.
Yeah, I agree for sure.
Definitely.
Quick note on the ladder thing. I know, like, if we're talking about, the top, we'll get into ladder right now, and then of course, put into perspective, out of those people on ladder, what percent of those are going like 7-2, and I think that's still a relatively generous portion of like LP if we're considering like today's current ladder. Be probably a lot more competitiveness on ladder regarding that, so it's kind of hard to predict like what exactly that'll turn out and what the LP range of the top 12 people is going to look like. But even now, if we're thinking about the top 50 going into the 7-2 and then you're fine, that's still a really, really large range of ladder LP. If we're talking about like Kevor having like 1300 and then at rank 1, rank 2 being around 1000, and then rank 50 is sitting at what, like 400, 500? A lot of breathing out there too, and I don't know how change that's going to make for the people who's climbing ladder next season, if they're going to be more competitive or not, or what that LP range is going to shift like. I really hope that well, of course, I like the ladder having a little bit more impact on your rank and things like that, but I'm not too sure on what impact that's going to be like, and it's really hard to predict what it's going to look like too, right?
Yeah, we'll have to
I
see
suspect it'll change a lot, honestly, because I know there are a lot of people who are playing ladder the way I was, where they would basically just hard grind and go, all right, I'm at the top of ladder, boom, now I'm just going to go test, fuck it, I don't care anymore. Like, I just went and got like 500-600 LP and then fucked off for the rest of the season. And I think that is much less likely to be something that people do.
That's not going to be a strat. That's not going to be a strat anymore. That's for sure.
Exactly.
If you want to go for the 7-2, like some people will just go, as long as I qualify, I'm okay, and they'll camp their rank whenever. But if you want to go for the 7-2 dream, you can't do that strat anymore.
Yeah,
And I think that means that people will play ladder more.
Right, but a lot of people who already play ladder will play ladder more, and there's going to be some portion of people that maybe were more like, what am I? They'll play ladder more as well, but you think that's going to have a really big impact on like the current ladder stay and who's actually in the top few ladder people?
I think
there will be a lot more ladder points total. Because I think what we're going to see is significantly more polarization. Because if you look at the way ladder works right now, there's a certain percentage that you need to go up, right? Most of the time when you're at a certain point in ladder, you end up plus 15 minus 25, right? And so there's a certain percentage points that you need to raise your score. Sorry, what?
Yeah, I know that plus 15 life.
Yeah, it's harsh. But when you get more people who are wanting to push their scores higher and higher, what that's going to do is those people basically have to take those ladder points from people who have lower scores, right? And the only way more ladder points get introduced to the system is when someone at 0 LP Masters loses a game. And usually, most of the people at the top of Masters shouldn't be able to play against people who are 0 LP Masters. So I think what we're going to see is actually a lot of polarization, probably centering around the top 20 or so slots.
Yeah, I guess it also depends on how many people are aiming to get up to that point, because as you mentioned, like maybe some of them are just aiming to qualify, and for them doesn't matter to get how much points. But there's gonna be a certain amount of people that are gonna be competing to get into that top, and those are the ones that are gonna get polarized against against the other ones that just want to qualify, regardless the top.
Yeah, my guess would be there's going to be a lot of people playing a lot on the ladder very seriously. Magic did this one time on Arena where they had this $1 million invitational tournament, and the top 8 from the ladder got an invite. I literally played every single day, like for the majority of the
that
day.
was super unhealthy. Like I was,
Yeah.
You guys ever like
really unhealthy?
you guys ever get like really high
Yeah.
rank in Magic Arena and then win a game and lose ranking?
Yes.
Because that's not fun.
Been there.
It happened.
Fucking
yeah.
been there.
I won a game at rank 2 and went to rank 8, and I was like, sick.
Dude, seriously. Fuck Magic Arena's system. I quit that game like a year ago.
I'm so happy to be done with it. Yeah.
Good choice. Good choice. Edoar's the way now, baby.
I, for one, love our WotC overlords, and think that they are doing a great job.
Yeah, if they want to invite any of us to anything, like
We're
big
very
fan.
very positive people. We like to say good things about people who
I'm the
take care
asshole,
of
fuck
us,
'em.
and possibly invite us to world competition type events. Speaking of, we got a world's
Okay,
announcement.
so, ooh,
Oh,
yeah.
hell yes.
You wanna
Yeah,
talk about that for a
well,
second?
we
I
don't know
love
what
it.
it's gonna be.
So-
but
We got
Yeah.
an announcement. Yeah, an announcement of an announcement.
That was
Like in
that
Hearthstone.
was why, like, so I kind of like tilted off when I lost my game, and then I realized that it's possible they'll end up looking at records even if you don't make the seasonal. So I decided I should probably
Yeah.
4-1 just because Worlds might care.
you don't
Like,
have the info. So
I
better
tilted
play
off a
than
little bit,
sorry.
and then I came back. Sorry, what?
You didn't have the info because like they just announced that they're going to be world, so you went with better safe than sorry. Might as well try to get all the win
Exactly.
I can. Right? Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, so what do we actually know? We know that they are making a worlds. Then that's it.
That's it. That's
it.
literally all we know.
That's
They're
it.
going
I
to
think they said
invite-
that. Yeah,
They're going
go
to
ahead.
invite the best of tournament play and ranked ladder. That's what they said. So Kever's looking pretty solid right now.
I just need to do okay Sunday.
Like I was sitting there and I heard the announcement and I was like, I got a top 32. I was like, maybe if I can like top 32 twice, it'll like look really good or something. So hopefully,
Oh.
Puyshpii is sitting pretty. He's not even worried.
You won one of those.
Yeah,
He
this
won it,
guy's,
yeah.
this guy's got his invite
It's-
secured.
Yeah, they have the envelope like
I-
already ready.
I don't think so. I mean, I'm aiming at least to do other top 32s to secure that, because I don't think that just one title can get you invited to the Worlds. I don't think that's gonna be enough, because
It's all
I-
speculations anyway.
yeah, I mean, how many people is gonna be playing in Worlds? How many regions there are, and how many tournaments are gonna be before the Worlds to count? Like, who is gonna be getting into it and counting? Like they say that also ladder players are gonna count. So, yeah, I don't think that just one title gets you there.
You gotta keep playing.
We'll find
Well, I
out.
think it should.
We'll
Yeah.
find out. I think it will be the first, like the seasonal winners of each seasonal auto invite.
Yep.
I believe that.
Yep.
Yeah, 100%. How do we think the field will look? Like,
That's a
are we
lot of
thinking like
people.
16 people,
Yeah, that's a lot
32
of people. Like if you want to do it that way, Worlds is gonna be.
Oh, that's
you need at
true.
least now 64 people, because you want to invite some ladder people, some outside people, tournament like doing good in like tournaments that might not be seasonal because they said there's gonna be other things. And
That's true. You have all the other regions and
Yeah,
everything too.
we have no idea what it'll look like, right? Like when it came to the seasonal, they said they wanted to keep it open, right? They wanted as many people to play as possible. So there's like 1,000 people per shard. There's like 3 or 4. There's 4 shards technically. So we're looking at so like maybe 4,000 people. That's a lot of people to have your big tournament, scene be. So I would hope that Worlds would be along the same line, and that they would keep it more open. Like if anyone remembers Magic Worlds back in the day was, hundreds of people, and it was really cool. There'd be 3 or 4 people per country. and then just like tens of countries
those
competing. It
some
was the
favorites
best.
that
People
would
loved
be
it.
great. I just hope they don't go in a like super invite based system with like I can make parallel with Hearthstone Grandmaster and Magic like MPL Magic Pro League. Like this is super exclusive to most people, and like if the more open the better if you want a healthy competitive scene, in my opinion.
So hopefully that's kind of what I was talking about with in-client tournaments being available. Like if they get that technology running, that'll help kind of the grassroots tournament organizers, and it'll also let them set up qualification tournaments for Worlds, which would be huge.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah,
like
that's another thing that would be cool. Having a step system.
Yeah, like give
Magic
us
did.
like competitive gauntlet qual tournaments. I would play in those like every week.
Just rip off the PPTQ system from Magic.
Yeah,
Preliminary Pro Tour
sure.
qualifiers and Pro Tour qualifiers. I'd play that. Like, I mean, that's technically what seasonals is. But 5
I mean,
Just more tournaments. Like more tournaments.
I'm
in
always
general.
looking for more tournaments, man. I cruise freaking Battlefly on my off hours. Y'all know me.
I've played in like 6 tournaments, and I think I've like put serious thought into just the seasonal ones. I usually show up, bring whatever I happen to win with the day before, and just roll dice.
Nice.
This Targon
Nice.
big deck
Seems
looks
good.
real
Fun.
sweet.
I played
Totally.
an Aphelios deck with 3 copies
Okay.
of Deny and 3 Homecoming and everything in a tournament. That was fun.
Oh god.
Hey, I won. Well, I topped. I
Nice.
made the next day or whatever.
That's awesome. Okay, so we're gonna do this for about an hour. We got 10 minutes left. We also want to touch a little bit on some of the new
New
cards. I've already seen
I-
some of them. Everyone take a turn, talk about like what you're excited about. The ones that are released today, the Shadow Isles cards to me were the most exciting by far. The other ones I was like, yeah, there's some stuff in there, gotta see. But the new stuff from Shadow Isles, I thought there was some potentially really busted cards in there, and I don't know, got me the most excited for sure. So what are you guys seeing? What do you think's the most powerful? Anything super busted? Anything jump out at you?
Anybody else want to go first, or am I taking this?
I mean,
So I've been spending most of my streams lately in the mornings. Anyone who's been by knows we're basically brewing all stream. We go over the spoilers and we just start making fucking decks. So the things that I'm the most hyped for out of all of these are, so me and MTuck have been brewing some crazy Lissandra nonsense. I'm definitely looking forward to testing that. I think she's going to be a beast. The new cards today are giving me serious like Return of Endure chills. Like I'm looking for my Battle Fury Endure deck to come back. I'm looking at that, Atrocity my Kindred at your face. I'm super down for that shit. And then like last but not least, I think Renekton is probably being undervalued right now. I'm looking at Misfortune Renekton, and I'm thinking there may be some shit there. That is some dangerous overwhelm, boys.
I think the Slay mechanic is definitely the one that stands out the most, just because a lot of the cards seem really, really strong, especially like the 2-mana 2/2 that kills an ally and is already fearsome and gains its stats. Like, beyond the even gaining its stats, just killing an ally and just being like a, what's it called, a Slay proc is just insane. And there's just so much synergy around that I think that there's going to be a lot of like Shadow Isles with Trima maybe. I'm not exactly sure if you want Nasus and the, God, I'm forgetting the cards already, Kindred in the same deck together. There's definitely a lot of synergy there, but it's very interesting, and there's going to be a ton of like different concepts with like the champions involved. And I think that's also another exciting part about Trima. I think that there's a lot of mechanics that kind of spread out across all the regions. Like, I really like how they did the countdown stuff across regions. So like Freljord has its countdown cards, Shurima has a lot of countdown cards. There could be a lot more countdown cards for the other regions. And I really like how they're spreading it out. Even like in Shurima, if you want to run Sundisk with some of the Ascended champions, you can. And then if you don't want to run Sundisk and you don't want to have the Allegiance and building all in Shurima decks, you can totally do that because all the champions are definitely flexible enough to kind of run that slot. I will agree with WhatamIxX. I think that Renekton is definitely looks like most vanilla on paper, and looks like the simplest to play and kind of build around. But I think that power level is really, really high, and I don't think that any of the champions so far are bad by any means.
Yeah, I mean, Overwhelm is, in my opinion, one of the strongest.
Book that card on top. So you don't know the other cards after. You're just keeping the better card out of the 3 cards, and that's the next draw that you're gonna have. Either with
Not
like
exactly like that. Actually, the wording is that 3 random cards. It is not the 3 top on the deck.
3 random cards. Yeah, I guess it matters in some, like, yeah, you're right. It matters in some super corner cases, I guess. But yeah, 3 random card, shuffle your deck. So technically, if you already set up some top of the card, like now your deck shuffled, right? And put it on top. So it's card selection. Right?
So
Card selection.
I'm not actually even sure that's accurate. So far Runeterra has shown us that they don't actually use shuffle effects. What they do is they pre-stack the deck in a given order, because so here's the thing, unlike a paper card game, we never need to actually pick up our deck and look at it, right? So I think the way the Runeterra is coded is at the beginning of a game it stacks your deck and the deck order doesn't change. As far as I can tell, as far as I can tell, all of the shuffle effects, what they are doing is they are maintaining that deck order and taking a card and putting it into your deck randomly. That's why something like the Avarocian Trapper, so if you play an Avarocian Trapper, it puts a Yeti in your top 3 cards. Then if you play a champion spell to shuffle a champion into your deck, that Yeti stays in your top 3 cards after the shuffle. Because I don't think Runeterra actually has a shuffle mechanic, which is a big deal, and that's part of why Predict is not going to stack the top of your deck. It's going to take 3 random cards, and then it's going to take those out of the stacked deck. You choose one to go on top, and the other 2 are going to get put back in randomly.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I'm hyped. I'm hyped about Predict. I guess we'll have some clarification there, but I think in the most sense it's going to be similar to Scry, right? It's going to be card selection. And the other things I'm hyped about is just landmarks. There's so many landmark matters team right now. It's going to shake up a couple things. Like right now, landmark removal kind of sucks, first off. So Veil Temple is super good, but it's still a 4-man investment. And if there's some good landmark removal, you'll see the Veil Temple stock go down. And everything that's
Desert Naturalist.
Yeah, and Talia, whatever the name was of the new champion.
Yeah.
And some other landmark matter cards. So yeah, I love landmarks. I think it's a great mechanics, and I think what it needed is a little bit more interaction. And the landmark that countdown removal, like remove something, it'll come back, but then you can destroy the landmark. That's like in the Frozen Tomb on the Lissandra one, for example. Like there's a lot of plays with that, and it seems like to open a whole other area of possible play patterns with landmark that we didn't have before.
I do want to ask...
If anyone's ever played Shadowverse, that was one of the card games that I played at a high level before I came to Runeterra. They kind of took Havencraft from Shadowverse and said, what if we brought that over here? Because that sounds cool. And I'm very down with that.
I do want to ask...
I've watched Shadowverse tournament. Go ahead.
Okay, cool. I do want to ask, especially for me, I didn't come from Magic. I came from Hearthstone that doesn't really have like the Scry Predict mechanic. I just wanted your take on looking at the cards that they revealed them already that have like the Predict keyword. Do you think that these cards will be like strong or, just be good? Because they are mostly pretty well statted cards that you can at least play on curve fine and be happy about it. But do you think this Predict mechanic so far looks strong, or what kind of deck concepts you see would really benefit from them?
It is strong.
All of them?
No, not all of them, obviously.
I think
But,
card selection in a card.
obviously,
Go ahead, Puyshpii.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, kind of manipulating your draw is good if you are playing good cards. But yeah, I mean, if you can play cards that can have that effect and not like affecting your deck building that much, it's actually powerful. For example, the 2/3 doesn't sound too bad. It has a decent body, and manipulating your draws, maybe having even if you're a combo mid-range or aggro, well, maybe aggro won't play that, but combo and mid-range, having being able to manipulate what you want to draw or your combo pieces is actually very, very powerful.
I'll say it a little bit stronger than that. I think if you're playing a Shurima deck and you're not playing a Phelios, if you don't start with 3 of the 2-mana 2/3 predict card in your deck, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah, I agree. I think card selection in a card game where the deck size is 40 is very, very powerful. I think about it. Once you have 30 cards in your deck, so not even halfway through the game with your a mulligan and everything. If you predict and you look at 3 cards, you're now looking at 10% of your deck and selecting the best card from the 10%.
Which is sick!
Yeah, it's completely insane.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm a big fan of anything that reduces variance in games. So you get those feel bad moments where you mulligan your hand and then you mulligan into just 4 nothing cards and you lose. It feels awful. So I'm very looking forward to the predict mechanic. As far as from Magic, since you haven't played it, Jasensational, Scry is the same mechanics kind of. It's extraordinarily powerful. You'll usually pay anywhere from it's usually about it's worth about a half a mana extra on your card to get Scry attached, in my opinion. So if you see something with stats a little bit below the normal level, but still playable for that mana cost, and it has predict on it, it's probably going to be an incredibly powerful card.
I gotta get out of here. This has been absolutely awesome. Hope to see you guys next time we do this. Peace.
Alright, what am I? Thanks for coming by, dude. I'll see you later.
Later, bud. Yeah, we're hitting the 1 hour mark, so we'll probably start wrapping it up here. I want to mention, though, Scry is a little bit different. In Magic, Scry is you look at the top, say the top card, and then you can leave it there or put it on the bottom, or you can look at the top 2, leave 1 or 2, or put 1 or 2 on the bottom. So one thing that is different is that this pulls 3 random cards, and that you're stuck getting one of those on top. So if you get 3 cards you don't want, you're well, there goes my draw for the next turn. You don't have the option to put it on the bottom. So that is one difference.
Your brainstorm.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's bad, but I'm saying that's one big difference.
I got a hot take.
It is one big difference.
I got a nice hot take right now. The Raptor just said that he thinks it's weak in Runeterra predict.
Ooh, I mean,
I think to make my full opinion, I need to know exactly. I need to know exactly how the shuffle things work, because now I'm a little bit confused about what we just talked about with WhatAmI and the shuffle and things like that. So I want to figure out exactly how the odds of those things works and how it shuffles or no shuffle. It might play into the strength of the predict mechanic.
Right. In Magic, is Scry a open element keyword type of thing? Because right now it's only in Shurima, right? It's very interesting to think about if you're just running Shurima, just have Scry, right?
Yeah, it's not that powerful, especially because that was a good point. I didn't realize that I hadn't written close enough. I didn't realize you put them all back. It's like Brainstorm without a shuffle mechanic, which means you just put the cards back and you go, oh, these cards suck.
Brainstorm, now that we say it like that, yeah.
But it's going to be better than it would in Magic if you directly ported it over, because you don't have lands. All your cards are spells. So you don't have to worry about just oh, I have 3 absolutely dead draws. They're not what I need.
Couldn't you say that Scry is better if you have lands too? Because now you can pick and choose.
Yeah, exactly.
When you put the land on the bottom with Scry, it does feel like drawing a card.
Exactly. Yeah. So I think Scry is better with lands.
Okay, that's what you're saying.
But predict might be better with Runeterra, because you don't have the actual dead cards.
Is it 3 random cards or just 3 cards?
3 cards from your deck.
Just 3 cards.
Yeah, so it could theoretically be 3 the same card, or 2.
Wait, I have the tweet
Probably.
right now. Exactly what it says is pick a card from among 3 in your deck, shuffle the deck, and put that card on top. So those are all the info we have.
Okay.
So it should.
So it should just be 3, right?
So it could be the
Just
same
3
card,
cards,
but
doesn't matter.
maybe not. Yeah.
I hate that about Runeterra.
Interesting.
The wording isn't
have to
quite
figure
precise enough.
A clarification post on that, sometimes they do like clarify, for example, that ephemeral doesn't count for a slay or something that they don't explicitly say on the keywords, but then they clarify after it doesn't say that.
Yeah, so we'll just have to wait and see. This is why I typically don't pay too much attention to the spoilers, because people are like, oh man, can't wait to get my Riven and my Victor decks going. Screw that Zoe. And then like literally day one, it's like, oh, everyone's stupid. Okay, good. Yeah, confirmed.
And it's hard to analyze, from my point of view, it's hard to analyze a specific card without seeing the whole support systems around that card. Like, it's hard to evaluate Shurima right now, how good of a region it'll be, without seeing at least everything that I can build it with. There was one card I wanted to just mention that I'm pretty, that I think is pretty good. We don't have much champion tutor in Runeterra outside of entry. I can't think of a single way to tutor or just draw your champions. And just that new card that got spoiled the same day as Nasus got spoiled, where it's 0 mana, destroy a gem or a creature, and draw champions from your deck. Champions are amongst the most powerful cards in LOR. And I don't know, that card sounded very powerful to me.
Yeah, same here. You know, Twisted Fate itself is totally insane, being able to always get one. We're just talking about how good the Lee deck is, and like one of the downfalls is when you can't find a Lee Sin. Well, all of a sudden, like there's potential there. Yeah, being able to always grab one, and like sacrificing creature, not that difficult. There's like most decks have some random creatures lying around to like facilitate that. So that was one that caught my eye as well. Okay, looks like we lost Puyshpii. People are falling out by the second. So I think we'll wrap it up here. Thank you guys so much. Unless anyone else has some closing thoughts before we go.
Puyshpii
back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
But I was just saying we'll probably wrap it up. We've hit the 1 hour mark. This was super fun. Thank you guys. Thanks everyone for watching. I think we'll probably make this like a regular thing, just having some fun chats once a week.
Yeah,
if anyone else has anything to say,
it was a good talk. Like, no, I'm pretty hyped for the new cards, but I won't be looking at them too much until after seasonal. So, so yeah, I'm just trying to go hard on the seasonal and do the best I can, and hopefully, we'll meet in top 8, Majin.
That's the hope. That's the dream. Hopefully,
That's
like,
dream.
yeah, because I don't think we can play finals together, can we? We're on the same side of the bracket, I believe.
I don't think so. I think the latest we meet is top 8. It might even be top 16. I'd have to look at it.
Well,
yeah.
if we both make top 8, it counts as a win for me.
I'll
Like,
be
I'll just be happy
yeah.
with that, right? Putting 2 like teammates in the top 8 seems pretty good. All right, guys.
totally.
I had a lot of
Good luck
fun.
to both of you guys.
Yep, thank you. I will see you all later.
Bye, guys.
Yeah, enjoy. See you on ladder.
Take care.
Yeah.